You can't really see on the camera, but the waves are getting actually really big in such a short way, so it's a lot of wind for sure, and everything is wet.
This is Malou, sailing somewhere on the seven seas. And this is me, her captain, trying to steer her out into the unknown to be able to find that one very special spot. Consider subscribing and welcome on board.
Here on Fino, the first modern inhabitants came in the end of the 1800s, and at that time there were basically no people living here at all to begin with, but still the first guy and his family went here, started an engine factory, diesel engine factory out here in the middle of nowhere, quite far out from the coast, just starting in a factory like that. And that factory was in use for a long time, and there's still the company over there. I'm not sure if it's still in use, but it could be that they're making something like related to that still, so that's pretty cool on a tiny island like this. I believe this cannon right here is some kind of old whaling cannon that they were shooting whales with. Pretty happy they're not doing that too much anymore. Now the brand of Fino is still very much in use. They don't make any diesel engines at the moment. Now they make really big propellers for huge ships and also really big oversized gears. The weather report have changed a little bit for today, so it looks like the wind is coming more from the east than from the north that it was supposed to be from the beginning. So I'm actually gonna leave in about an hour, doing some last little preparations now, some last dishes before heading out. And looks like I'm gonna get good winds, but a little bit shifting and light winds the first 24 hours. And then as soon as I get to the bigger islands on the outside of the coast, it's gonna be more sustainable southeasterly winds. So I'm gonna be able to reach up towards the Lofoten. North of Norway, here I come. This evening and tonight we're gonna get quite light winds. We're down here right now. They're gonna be a little bit in front of us. So they're gonna be on a bit of a tack up towards Lofoten, which is up here. And if we press play, we can see how the winds down here get a little bit stronger during the night, so we're gonna get a little bit better wind. And then as we approach these bigger islands here, we get some stronger winds that's gonna carry us all the way up towards Lofoten, basically. So that's definitely steady, strong winds there, more or less straight from the side, you could say. Finally got some proper wind to do some sailing, turn off the engine finally, and we're more or less heading straight for the tip of Lofoten right now. Don't have too much wind yet, so we're going with full sails so far, but eventually later today I think we're gonna have to reef the main and basically just reduce sail as we go, because eventually the winds will get close to gale force at least. So that's what we have to look forward to, but hopefully from now on we're just going to be sailing on this tack more or less all the way, depending, no matter where we go, basically just gonna be sailing on this tack. So better get on that lean and get used to it. It's really nice morning here on Malou. We got some really nice sustainable winds at the moment, like 7-8 meters per second or something like that. And it's starting to heeling over quite a bit, going to weather helm. So I took first reef in the main, and that's mainly because the wind, it's gonna pick up during the day eventually as well. So just take a reef in the main before the wind gets really strong, because that's when you can get some real problems when you're sailing alone. Now I took that, and we're going slightly slower now than we did before, but it's not a big difference at all. So it's nice, and we're heading on towards Boda more or less. I haven't really decided if I'm gonna go all the way to Lofoten or if I'm gonna go in to the coast somewhere, but at the moment, really nice. I also put up this like splash and wind protector here on this side, because I'm gonna get the wind in from this side all the time during this sail. So got this, it's pretty neat. It just protects you from splashing water and wind basically, and it got these small pockets in it as well. You can just store goods and all kind of little candy and stuff like that, so when in the middle of the night you can get a nice little surprise there. Just earlier when I was up reefing the main, I actually hit my hand really hard into the mast. The boat was just plunging into a wave, and I got like thrown backwards and then thrown right into the mast and just took my hand there. I don't think that I broke anything or like that, but it's really important when you're on deck, especially just a really important thought for me now, to just focus all the time, because one little thing like that could just ruin the whole trip. So gotta be a little bit more careful, I guess. At the moment the wind has gone down a little bit, so the sea state is kind of bigger than the actual wind, and we're going downwind, so the mainsail tends to slack a little bit. But with the system that I have here, and then the kick boom, which is expandable, if this slacks, let's see if it slacks a little bit, it just bounces back like that. So there's no, like it used to be on boats where it like hits and like a bang, like boom. You see here, it just catches like a soft movement. So I had a couple of really big slacks, and then it just went down, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably gonna be a boom. But then it just like woof, softly lands. So that's a really nice solution actually. We've been on more or less the same direction on the wind the whole day basically, so I've been able to, the wind rudder's been steering really well, so I've been able to get some sleep here on the sofa. Don't have to sleep at the floor at the moment because we're leaning to port, so the sofa is pretty perfect, and it's also very close, so if something would happen I could just run up and try to fix that. Now the sun is soon setting for another star clear sky night. The wind has definitely picked up quite a bit. I only got a tiny bit of Genoa out and one reef in the main, still doing quite good speed now, but the wind turned as well, so get a little bit slightly more from the back now, which is thankful because it's more or less gale force right now, I would say. So it's strong winds, but we're sailing nicely, actually straight north more or less, so towards the peak of Lofoten still. So just gotta sit here in the shelter behind the doghouse and try not to get too drenched in the spray. It's been a quite rough night, to be honest. The wind's been howling, it's been blowing really much tonight, and even though I can see land from here, the waves are like really big. You can't really see on the camera, but the waves are getting actually really big in such a short way. So it's a lot of wind for sure, and everything is wet. There's salt everywhere, both outside and also inside. It's kind of wet, not super wet, still okay in here, but yeah, it's it's been rough for sure. But I think a little bit later in the day the wind's gonna ease off a little bit, and we're not that far from Røst and Lofoten anymore. So I'm really looking forward to getting to the destination now, because this night has been rough. I'm just making some toast in the frying pan, and I have to hold the pan when I'm sitting here because I don't have any gimbal stove, and these pot holders here, they only work for the actual pot, so not really for the frying pan. But yeah, just sitting here cooking, don't have anything else to do really. The wind pilot is steering nicely on course, and we got about 50 miles left to Røst, so should be there sometime during the night. Seems like the sun is already starting to set. Clock is about 5 in the afternoon, so it's definitely getting darker when you head north. I sailed almost 300 miles now from Fino, where I started, so and more or less straight north. So yeah, it's definitely getting darker, and over there you can see some really pointy islands and the mainland as well. Got cities like Mo i Rana, and also the glacier of Svartisen in there. That is supposedly a really great area for cruising, so probably I'm gonna go there when I'm heading south again. I also used to work there, or for one summer or like a month or so, I worked in a fjord called Sjongsfjorden in there, on a sport fishing camp. That was a really nice little camp actually. Not the best sport fishing there is, but it was a nice place. I would like to go there as well, but now the wind is really nice, calm and nice, good sea state to sail the last part to Røst. Sailing along here late in the evening, keeping pretty good speed, and don't have that much long until we're at Røst, our goal, which will be in the middle of the night basically. And right now the sky is lighting up. You can actually see it on the GoPro here, the really strong northern light, like, or can you see it? No, I don't. No, I think it's something else. There's a really strong northern light on here. Pretty awesome. During the last day of sailing, I've been spending some time inside of the boat. Usually I sit out in the cockpit and keep a lookout and all of that, but in this area there's not much ships at all basically, so there's no really need to keep a lookout if you had the AIS and everything. And I just came up with this cool idea to take this oil lamp and just basically strap it onto the stove here, so it stands like really solid on there and it's going nowhere, and just keep a small flame on it to just keep it nice and dry inside here. And it's working really nice, and it's actually bringing some heat as well. So I'm just going in here and I got maybe like 5 degrees more warmth in here compared to the outside, and usually it's the same temperature in the whole boat and it's really like high moisture and everything, but now it's really dry and nice in here, so that little lamp actually makes a huge difference. We've just moored up here on the dock on Røst, this little island at the very tip of Lofoten. I think it was 320 mile long sail. Took 2.5 days, so quite fast actually for a small boat like this one. And when we came in now, it was pitch dark of course because it's in the middle of the night, and I mounted, let's see here, this little thing. So this is my other headlamp, which is way stronger than the one I'm holding in my hand, and this was just pointing straight ahead, so when I was steering I could detect any kind of fishing equipment or anything like that would appear right in front of the boat, so I could just shut off the engine or go to neutral so the fishing stuff doesn't get stuck in the prop, because that's something that you really want to avoid, especially in the middle of the night when coming to an unknown place like this one. But everything went well, so now I'm gonna plug in some electricity and trying to get some moisture out of the boat and get some sleep.